Natasha, and if you're watching this video, welcome to my Chiron series. So I will be doing the intro of what is Chiron, and then for each individual sign for each video, as well as how it might be playing out within each of the 12 houses for that actual zodiac sign. So stay tuned, please subscribe and like this video or share it with someone that you may find that it may help them. So we all have Chiron in our chart. So what is Chiron? So Chiron is basically the wounded healer. In a nutshell, it is the area where we just feel inadequate in, we just suck at, we don't know why, and it is something that it will just keep coming up throughout our lifetime in some way, shape, or form. Usually it's stronger kind of earlier in life, and hopefully if you work on it and heal it over time, it will be a little bit lighter and not as impactful or awkward for you. And when you heal it, it is actually your superpower, and it is something that you are really good at in its own way, and it is something that you can help other people who struggle with in this area as well, if that made any sense. I am a Chiron in Gemini in the 9th house, so if you want to look at that video or in my past videos, I have a video on that and how that kind of plays out. So you'll often see me stumbling with words, because Gemini is learning, speaking, reading, writing, and learning, and so that seems to be a thing for me. So I'm sorry about that. It keeps coming up. But when I was really young, I was practically a mute and I did not speak at all. So you can see over the years that is, not the case, and I may be able to communicate things to you in a way that maybe other people may not be able to communicate with, or more patient when it comes to learning disabilities, speaking impediments, things like that. So hopefully you find this video informative in the way that I express it, if other videos are not necessarily hitting it for you. So Chiron is just basically that zodiac sign and where it is placing in whatever house it is for you, how it's acting out, or what area in life that Chiron placement is wounding you, or where you have been wounded early on in life and it's kind of affected you in whatever decisions you made, or fear-based mentalities, whatever, things that kind of led from one thing to another over time, if you've kept ignoring it and not addressing it, because it is scary and it's uncomfortable, it doesn't feel good. Sometimes you don't even know how to resolve it because like you're awkward at it. And so, knowing where your Chiron placement is and what sign it is can help you feel like, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you were born with, that you came here to learn as a human being here on Earth School, and for your soul to kind of overcome and resolve in your own way. So this way you can help other people, because when we interact with other human beings on this planet, where we all go through human struggles, no matter what it looks like on the outside, you can bring this superpower, this quality that is very unique and personal to you, to help someone else and empathize with someone else, who's going through the same thing, or a friend whose child is going through something like that and they don't know what to do. You bring this special quality if you're able to heal it, and work on it. So that is basically what Chiron is. It was like a healing centaur, like a good centaur in Greek mythology, and this was a wound that this centaur was not able to heal, even though he was a healer and a teacher, you know, and sometimes, you know, you look at a teacher or a guru or someone who you see as above you, and if they can't figure it out, you know, or heal something or problem solve something, it's kind of like, oh, you know, even my teacher, you know, is flawed, you know, because, you know, regardless of if someone has like a title leadership role, who looks like they have it all, they are a human being and they have problems too. They are not perfect. They do not always have the answers. So, you know, be a little bit compassionate about other people because they have a Chiron placement just like you. And if we all kind of become more aware of our Chiron placement, because it is like a big factor in my what, you know, here we go, in my perspective, yeah. In my perspective, Chiron is a big one to try and focus on and heal. The next one is Saturn, and another one is your North Node, South Node. So please subscribe and check out those videos if I haven't posted them quite yet. You know, you have your big three, Sun, Moon, and Rising in astrology if you're new to astrology. And if you're digging deeper into it, you know, Chiron, Saturn, North Node, South Node. Those are three big ones that I would also dive into, as those three, the Chiron, Saturn, and North Node, South Node thing, are going to be big factors as to how you kind of grow and evolve as a soul, what you came here to do in this lifetime, what is very unique and authentic for you as a human being, you know, regardless of how society is structured or how whatever culture or place in the world you live in, how that is structured. This is more personalized to you. And if you've kind of helped figure that out, you'll kind of have more guidance, you know, as to where you're supposed to kind of go in life, you know. And it can kind of also make you feel heard, make you feel like there's nothing wrong with you. This is just something that you have to work on. You may reflect on childhood as to like connecting the dots of how these kind of struggles may have initiated. You know, like for me, I have Chiron and Gemini, and when I was growing up, the environment was pretty quiet, you know, and I'm a Libra rising, you know, and so I tended to, what I naturally went towards is kind of sensing, you know, I'm very intuitive. I kind of sense, engage the environment, the room. I read body language, facial expressions. When I hear someone say something, you know, I'm not just listening, I'm trying to hear them. And I also notice when I'm not heard because I say something, and based on the response someone gives me, I'm like, yeah, they didn't get what I was trying to say. And then I determine, you know, is it important enough or not to intervene, or it's like, yeah, it's like whatever, it's not important, so I'll just let it go. This is something that you can kind of work on and be just more compassionate and empathetic about other people in your scenario. And the more and more people who come to this realization, awareness, level of consciousness, as you know, there's more and more and more levels of consciousness and awareness, then, you know, you can help prevent hurting other people unintentionally. You know, yeah, because usually it's not intentional, hopefully, you know, but when you're more aware of yourself, number one, you can catch yourself when it's actually happening, or you're like, oh crap, you know, like I did it again, you know, and then you can try and work on it over time, you know, or recognize different things, you know, because if you're not aware of it, you're not going to fix it. You're just going to overlook it. You may realize that, you're just living on survival mode. You're just trying to feel loved and seen and appreciated so much to where you're kind of blinded by what you're actually doing, you know. So I think that's it for my little intro spiel, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, so I will start with the series after this, and it'll be time stamped down below if you want to kind of skip things. So yeah, okay, see you in a bit. Okay, so this is Chiron and Aries. So if you're watching this video, most likely you have actual Chiron in Aries or possibly Chiron in the first house. So you need to look at both and kind of determine on your own, you know, what is actually happening, because there's going to be a little bit of a mixture. And I've noticed with people, they can have the same wound in one sign, but they're kind of playing out in different ways. So you have to kind of use critical thinking, creative thinking, analyze yourself a little bit, and you will help kind of get a better understanding of how this wound is playing out for you, or possibly your child, your parent, sister, brother, whatever, who you may want to help, if they even want the help, you know, that's, you know, up to them. So I'm very visual, so you know, I'm a little nerd, but I'm better when I just have to look, you know, down. So if I'm looking down a lot, that is what I am doing. So if you have Chiron in Aries, this is basically a wound on yourself, because Aries is the self, your self-identity, who you are, your personality, your physical body. So, you know, we're taking the strengths of what Aries is and kind of looking at the opposite. What is the opposite of Aries? This is going to be something of more of, you know, where you might feel wounded. You know, you might be like, I don't know who I am. Like, who am I? And you have a hard time kind of, you know, having a sense of, an authentic sense of self. Maybe you feel like you're always who everybody else says you are, or what you hear that you should be, but you're not sure if that is who you are, you know, or like it's kind of probably weird. You may feel like you're wounded in the actual physical body or how you look, like you might not feel attractive enough. Even if other people find you attractive, you might feel like you're not attractive enough, and so you might seek out plastic surgery or a lot of facial reconstruction, or maybe you kind of do your hair, do a lot of excessive things to make yourself feel more attractive to other people, even though other people probably find you attractive naturally the way you are. So, you know, you have to take it based on, you know, each individual. I can't say for you. But I'm going to get to, you know, our Chiron is also our superpower. So I'll kind of get back to that a little bit later. You can feel that I lost my train of thought, like physical body, attractive enough. You can feel like you don't have a good personality, or your personality is like not pleasant or not fun or entertaining or anything like that to other people. Like you feel insecure with your personality, who you are, your physical body, your face, things like that. You can also have possibly like eating disorders, body image disorders, you know, bulimia, anorexia, body dysmorphic disorder, you know, to the point where it affects your life, or, you know, like you might go to extremes in order to correct it, you know. So just be kind of mindful of like, where are you teetering on that spectrum? Because we all go through insecurity issues at times, or when we're developing as a teenager. You may feel like you're not good enough, you want to fit in with the popular crowd, or you want to be attractive to whoever you have a crush on, and so, in the negative sense, you might go to extremes with dieting or whatever it might be in order to do that. So it's healing this wound, it's internal, so hopefully, you take the path where you don't feel regretful with the decisions that you've made in order to get there, okay? You may have a wound with Chiron in Aries with like asserting yourself or being assertive, direct, blunt, speaking the truth and not caring about what other people have to say about it, because Aries is a very strong with their sense of who they are, and they don't give an F about what other people have to say about it. They'll just say what they have to say, and they'll be like, if you don't like it, then go away. So you may have a wound with being able to do that, or speaking up for what you really want or what you really feel, or things like that. You may have struggles with that, in fear of being rejected, or being made fun of, or maybe you literally have been made fun of for your appearance, or if you don't look a certain way, if your face is just the structure and look that it is, maybe you've been poked fun at for that, or it just kind of comes up once in a while throughout your lifetime. So remember that is on the other person. That is some deep-seated nastiness that is going on within themselves and is being projected onto you, unfortunately. And so, when you heal this wound, it's not you. You have something about yourself that is really exquisite or really good, or you've overcome a lot, or you built your muscles and physicality or your appearance, in a really good way, where it kind of brings out a jealous side within others, and they have to have something to poke fun at you. So, it's an internal thing that you have to heal, if that applies to you. You may have a fear of risk taking, because Aries is very brave. It's like a warrior, and it doesn't care. It'll be like, I'm going to try it out, and if it fails, at least I tried it out, and we'll do it again or do it better or whatever. So there might be a fear of even starting or trying something in fear of being made fun of or not being good enough, so try to overcome that fear of not making it, or not being able to learn or unlearn something, because if you don't even try, it's not going to happen, so even if it's slow, it's fine, and sometimes you have to find the right guide or teacher in order to go at the pace that you need, so sometimes it's just a personality match. Maybe you feel slow at like intuition within your body. Like I currently am a personal trainer, and there's a lot of people that I train that have a really hard time, connecting to their body, like something that is very intuitive for me, and I get it like that. I can look at it and imitate it right away. And if they say like, try and activate and feel this area, I can do it pretty much right away or figure it out right away. If you have Chiron in Aries, which also represents the physical body, you may have a wound of like, your mind and soul are in this body, but it might feel like a alien spaceship, or if you're in an aircraft, like, I don't know what all these buttons do, you know, that's kind of like maybe how you feel within your body. You know, you're moving your arms, but you have a hard time actually activating certain parts of your body, or you know, you feel kind of alienated from your body in some way, or you know, you're not coordinated, you know, and you don't know why, and you have such a hard time, you know, being coordinated. Maybe you're clumsy, you know, so it can play out like that as well. You don't have to have all of these with Chiron and Aries, but maybe over time you become more aware of it. Maybe you have a few, or there's one that's more prominent than the other. You might be a little too passive, or maybe you're way too aggressive in order to compensate this insecurity wound, or wound of the self, you know, because in order to protect yourself, you might withhold or retract, kind of keep things to yourself more in order to protect yourself, so you don't assert yourself, protect yourself, say no. That hurts me, you know, you just let it happen, you know, maybe it swings that way, or maybe you're afraid, you're too ahead of the anticipation of something bad happening, and so you go off the rail where it's like, whoa, it wasn't like that, you know, and you go way beyond to where you might make things worse than it actually had to be, you know, so like maybe anger management or something like that. So just be mindful of that. If you don't feel healed within yourself, you want to overprotect, you know, it can play out in a way where now you're creating a conditioning to where the people, if it's related to people and not just like your looks, your emotions and how you express yourself may come off in a negative sense to where you may attract people to respond in a negative way towards you, creating this cycle that it didn't have to be like this. You know, you have to look at yourself. Why are you reacting like this in order to protect yourself? And if other people are not as compassionate or see what's really going on right away, or they have a wound that they're defensive at, you can start, you know, creating more wounds and reinforcing fears and not healing in the way that you could, based on maybe who you surround yourself with, or the environment that you're in, or the family that you were born in, whatever the case may be for you. Okay, you may also feel with Chiron and Aries that you shouldn't even be alive. You know, it could be very painful to be like, there's something so wrong with you and who you are and how you're brought up or conditioned, and you just have such a hard time like undoing all these negative things that you know that you need to correct or heal, but it's not that easy, you know. Sometimes think of the weakest thing for you, or what you know you suck at, which might be this Chiron and Aries, but like for anyone, you know, like sometimes it takes an entire lifetime to unlearn or heal something like that, you know, and it depends on how bad is it, you know. But, you know, please have some grace or forgiveness with yourself, because some things it's just going to take one person like their entire lifetime, and it's going to take someone else like 2 seconds to figure it out, you know, because that is not their weak point. You know, their weak point is in something else, you know. So, you know, give yourself time. You know, if you know this area is not easy for you, you know, you have to learn like what environment is going to make you feel safe, in order to unlearn or relearn, heal, work on whatever it may be for you, so you can, be better, mainly for yourself and then for the other people around you. Especially if you're, like a young, like an adolescent, teenager, and you didn't have like a good mentor or parents, where you come from a generational family line where all of them just didn't know, and so you didn't have anyone to look up to, and you just watched what they did, and from your observation and what you heard in your environment from the group of, they didn't even know and they were not healed, and they're going through their own trauma and trying to feel loved and seen and make it in the world also, that's going to affect the child and the teenager, So yes, if you know anyone who may benefit from a video like this, who's kind of young, send it to them. Hopefully, they'll get something out of it. You may have a feeling or sense of unworthiness, or that something is wrong with you. Okay, so that's basically what I have to say for Chiron and Aries. Oh my God. Chiron and Aries. And so, kind of take what works for you, what identifies with you, and kind of leave the rest if it doesn't apply to you. But hopefully this has given you a little bit more understanding of what Chiron in Aries kind of can play out as, if you have this or someone who has this. Okay. I wanted to add, I forgot that Chiron is also where you're super strong at, okay? And so it's actually your superpower. So in a way, if you have Chiron and Aries, you have a weak point in it that kind of keeps coming up in some way, and hopefully over time you've healed it more and more and more and more to where it doesn't really hurt you and you're really actually very, very good at it. So Chiron and Aries, you might actually have a very strong sense of who you are, and you're like, if nobody doesn't like it, you know what? You've overcome your wounds and your struggles, and like you can't change your face that much, and you can't change the proportions on your body if you're short torso, long leg, short torso, or whatever. But perhaps you went to the gym, you changed your diet, you are really good with skincare and your routine, or knowing how to doll yourself up, know how to dress yourself really well in a way that a lot of people are not as gifted in, that people can't really say that much about you now, because you're actually really good at this sense of physical appearance, because Aries is a lot about the physical body, how you look in like the head, and personality. So perhaps you have a very bold leadership personality. You're a natural born leader, because Aries, that's what Aries is, very bold. You don't give an F about what other people think about you. You're going to do what you want, and you don't care. Like when you heal this wound of this sense of self, who you are, your physical body, you're actually super strong at it. That's the good part of it. You're going to have a unique ability and quality to yourself where people are going to be more in awe of you, of like, wow, like that person was like a little wimpy kid stick, or they're not like the most attractive looking in this society, wherever you live, what society identifies mainly as attractive, or what most people kind of swoon after. You can judge, and everyone, it's in the eyes of the beholder, but maybe you'll be like, oh, there's not like the best looking person, but like, man, you know, it's actually, this person is actually pretty darn good looking, even with their kind of not so GQ or cover girl, you know, essence, you know. So there's going to be something about you that you're very strong at, and you know, people really admire and swoon after you because you're actually really good looking, or you really know how to style and dress yourself to where you're very attractive, or you know, you have a very strong personality as in who you authentically are. And regardless of the background and wounds and mistakes that you've made in the past, and you really kind of hold strong in it. It's probably not the right words of expression that I want to use, but you have a lot of self-worth with who you actually are, where you came from, what you've had to overcome, to where you don't care if you made all these mistakes that might be very embarrassing to someone else who would never expose those things, but you're very bold and you don't care, and you're willing to, you know, be a leader and pioneer to the world of like, hey, people are not perfect. People do not have this pristine, perfect life that they like to put a facade in front of the world. And I'm not going to lie and be unauthentic, you know, to people, because that's just not real. And that's not me. That's not who I want to be. I don't want to be fake, you know, as a Chiron in Aries, perhaps. And once, if you've healed it, and you can be a leader of like, hey, be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you've come from, your unique traits and abilities and gifts that you can be an example for, that you can help others with, you know, because everyone is unique and everyone has their own special qualities, past, their own traumas, what they've learned. And if you're able to share that with other people, then everyone as a group can become stronger and better. And isn't that what we would want? Like, if you had kids, wouldn't you want your kids to be better than what you've been through, you know? And when you have the help of a whole group reinforcing and help correcting each other and collaborating, we're gonna speed things up way more faster. So those are gonna be your special gifts and superpowers if you worked on and healed your Chiron in Aries placement. Now we're going to go to all the Aries in each house of how it might be playing out for you. So, okay, bye. Okay, so Chiron through the houses. So if I'm looking down, this is what I'm looking at, because I have to look at things, okay? So Aries in the first house, this is just within what the sign actually represents. You feel wounded within yourself, your physical body, your appearance, who you are authentically. So you're basically putting Chiron in Aries, you know, so it's a double Aries. So there you go, pretty short and sweet. I'm going to write down. Oops. Okay. Second house. So second house. Maybe I'll just do it this way. Second house. So second house is the Taurus house. So putting Aries in the house of value, self-value, and your personal finance. You may be wounded in your sense of self-worth, self-esteem, which is almost kind of similar to Aries being in the first house. So Aries in the first and second house are pretty similar in a way, except being in the second house is like also being wounded in finances, your personal finances, and the material things that you own. So it can be a little mixture of both if you kind of become more aware of kind of what the patterns in your life has been, you know. So you may be wounded in how you express yourself with your self-value, or you know, how assertive you are with money. Maybe you kind of let things slide, or maybe you think too fast or speed through things a little too quickly and you make a lot of financial mistakes, or maybe you have a gambling wound. You know, if you don't feel good enough, or you don't feel good enough about what you can do or provide in order to make money, maybe it plays out like a gambling issue. Or, you know, this can also be like things that are beauty, because Taurus is beauty. It's a Venus ruled planet. So things that look good, feel good, smell good. You may feel like you're just not good enough to acquire things like that in some way. Or you have a hard time asserting yourself for what you're actually worth. You might undervalue yourself because you might not feel worthy enough in order to make so much money, or to have nice things around you, even though you are more than worthy to have those things. Okay. Aries in the 3rd house. Yeah, I'm gonna do it like that. So Aries in the 3rd house is the Gemini house of learning in general, speaking, reading, writing, learning, the peers that you grew up with. So, you know, like maybe you had a hard time asserting yourself amongst your peers, or not feeling good enough in comparison to the kids that you grew up with, or they made fun of you for how you looked growing up, you know, in elementary school, and that kind of messed with you, you know, in your conditioning of how you think about yourself or how you see yourself. You might see yourself as not good enough because all these kids kind of said mean things to you, or they said that you're dumb because Gemini is learning, like maybe you're not smart enough, or you're just dumb because you look dumb. I don't know, you know, and whatever happened for you, or you have a hard time kind of being expressive with who you are, or defending yourself amongst your peers growing up, or having a hard time speaking up with, you know, like you don't understand something, or you don't know how to kind of learn, or you're never taught how to kind of learn things. So learning, like when you're studying school, it's like people have different learning styles. So you can be someone who you need to write it out over and over and over and over again, or you're an auditory learner, you know, and you need to hear things over and over again, or you need to speak it over repeatedly again, or you can just read it and you retain it. Or you need to actually go through the experience and feel it, feel the emotions, or feel the actual movement, you know, more of a kinesthetic learner. So you may be wounded in some sort of expression regarding to this learning energy, the peers that you grew up with, possibly your siblings. You know, maybe your siblings always poked fun at you, or made fun of you, or bullied you in some sort of way, or maybe one sibling. It doesn't have to be all of them, you know. So kind of think about those areas. So take the combination of Aries archetype playing out in this 3rd house area of your life, you know. It's almost like a childhood house. It could also be short distance travel. So maybe your physical body kept getting hurt in car accidents or just walking across the street, you know, like you're just walking and you got shot. You know, like I counseled juveniles for my internship for a short period of time, and I heard countless of times, you know, from their perspective, from what they told me, is like they saw just someone walking down the street, they didn't do anything, and they would get shot. You know, that is an example of Chiron being in Aries, the physical body, in the third house, short distance travel, just walking from your house to the grocery store, you know, or riding a bike, you know, things like that. So combine the two. But usually Chiron is something that it kind of comes up over and over and over again because it's trying to tell you something of what you need to heal. Okay. Chiron in the fourth house. Chiron in the fourth, or Aries, Chiron in the fourth house. This is the house of childhood and childhood upbringing, how you grew up, the home environment that you got. So you may feel wounded in your family in some way, shape, or form. You could have been physically wounded from childhood, or someone from your childhood, like you may have been raped when you were a child. I don't know. Sorry. Or you were raped from a family member and nobody believed you. You know, I've heard things like that. So physical body, Aries, or your personality, who you are, is wounded in childhood, family upbringing, either home, family, you know, something to do with that. And it really deeply impacted you. Now, you know, if you heal that, you know, can help others who've gone through something like that, if that has, God forbidden, happened to you. Or you have to recognize, because sometimes, you know, when you go through some kind of traumatic event like that, now you have other compulsions of trying to fix it. Like maybe you have a sex addiction, you have a food addiction, you know, or you want to look attractive, but you're also not wanting to look attractive because that might attract new abusers, you know. So this is a reoccurring thing for you of trying to figure that out and heal it, because you're actually really good at being empathetic and understanding what other people go through, or you know, what the physical consequences that can happen after such events like that. Okay, so that was a dark and deep one, but you know, that's an example. Aries, I'm gonna do it like that. Aries in the fifth house. Yeah, Aries in the fifth house. So having a wound, or your physical, your identity, who you are, in the house of self-expression. So it's kind of, there's a similarity here, kind of like Taurus, or having Aries and Taurus. Aries in the fifth house is kind of like you are wounded with how you express yourself. You may also be similar to Aries in the fourth house of childhood upbringing, because fifth house is children. So you may be wounded with children, or how you separate your identity from your children. If you have children, you can feel wounded with just being creative and creatively expressing yourself, you know, having your own style, your own identity that is unique and creative amongst the rest, if you have not healed it, because there's a similarity here, kind of. Aries is also play, so it's superficial, you know, it's not deep like a Scorpio. It is like surface level things, you know, it's like the makeup, and you know, if you're a female or, you know, a male who's into makeup, like how you express yourself on a first date. You usually want to kind of amp up how you look and how you're seen for your first date in romance and stuff like that. So you may feel wounded in dating, or how do you express yourself in the dating world, and then when like the other person is like, you're not fun, or like, they're kind of okay, weird, you know, because you have a hard time expressing yourself, or kind of talking about who are you, because maybe you don't know even who you are, then it might kind of make the other person fade out, and now you feel wounded in the dating realm or in romance, or doing fun, creative icebreakers, or like events, birthdays, entertainment. It's all the entertainment area of how you kind of shine. So Aries is like who you are, your physical body, and you might feel like you also have a hard time shining amongst other people, like your light is dimmed. So there can be almost a double here. So yeah, is that it for that one? So yeah, you might feel wounded with dating or your dating relationships, asserting yourself in dating, you know, having a hard time saying no, I don't like that, or that's too much. Maybe they don't respect you or take you seriously because you have a hard time asserting yourself, or maybe you're overly assertive and you get very aggressive because, you know, people just don't respect you and how you present yourself or whatever, and that hurts you, and you might go overboard, and now you have people filing some kind of domestic violence thing on you or whatever, calling the cops on you because they don't know you. You just went on 1 or 2 dates and now they misunderstood you, or you overstepped because you were wounded and you were so worried that this person's not going to like you, so you kind of overly asserted yourself, you know, in a disrespectful way, and now you created a problem that didn't really have to happen, you know. So kind of look at your own personal situation with this. Okay, Aries in the 6th house. It's starting to look kind of weird. So Aries in the 6th house, maybe having a hard time, because 6th house is Virgo energy. It is the house of health. So your physical body and health. You may feel like you're always sick, or you always have something, or you're always getting injured, or maybe you don't feel good enough, like animals don't like you or something like that, because 6th house also represents our pets, you know, and you're like, I don't know why animals don't like me, or I always get bitten, or, you know, I get attacked by animals. You know, you feel wounded by animals, or you feel wounded with your day-to-day routine, with your physical body or your health. So kind of think of the combinations with that. Or maybe you have like ADHD and you have a hard time getting into a really good routine. You get distracted a lot and you forget to brush your teeth, or you lose things, and now, you know, you don't even know, you know, what's going on, or you have migraines and headaches on a day-to-day basis. Aries rules the head, and a 6th house is just the normal day kind of thing. So think health and your physical body in some sort of way, or organization, using discernment, noticing the fine details and things, regardless if it's literal in the material sense or energetically, kind of sensing other people's motives. What are they actually doing or trying to get out of you? Or, you know, because people in the world can be a little, you know, everyone's trying to get what they want sometimes. If they're not actually on that kind of higher frequency and sense of consciousness and doing good by others. So having that kind of sensory knowing, Aries is kind of like a knowing energy, like an animalistic intuition of like, I can tell that you're bad and I'm just going to keep my distance, you know, and I'll be nice to you, but I can't get that involved with you. I just know. And maybe you're wounded in that area of using discernment and picking those things out in people or decisions on the day-to-day, and now it can create a conditioning of like, man, this always happens to me all the time. I'm always hurt, or, you know, something in your day-to-day kind of always pokes at you. And then that makes you kind of go down instead of healing and kind of overcoming those things. But take that if that resonates for you. It might not. Okay. Aries in the 7th house. Okay. 7th house is Libra energy, or relationships, or contracts, any dealings that we do with one-on-one. I have Aries in the 7th house. I don't have Chiron in Aries, but you may feel wounded with other people. You're wounded in relationships. You may feel like you have a hard time asserting yourself with other people, or being overly aggressive and angry with other people, or your romantic relationships just keep hurting you, or they might physically hurt you in a negative way, and you don't know why. You keep attracting people who do such things to you, and maybe that happens because you have a hard time with your boundaries and saying no, or giving the benefit of the doubt too many times, or giving excuses to where they kind of get too crossed over into your boundaries, because maybe you have a kind of a blurry sense of what a healthy sense of boundaries are with relationships, or going through going too fast when it comes to business dealings and contracts, or using discernment with other people in relationships, doing business, you know, like selling a home or getting married, you know, because contracts, you know, can be like a mortgage, and you thought that this realtor was like your friend and they had their best interest for you, but it turns out that they were in it for themselves. You just wanted a big commission, and it was kind of a bad deal, and now you are wounded. You feel like you are not good enough, or you keep, you know, messing up in relationships, or, you know, you have a hard time kind of using good judgment, and you feel wounded because of other people, or maybe you don't feel good enough in relationships in some way, like you always mess up and you don't know why, and then you feel bad because now you hurt your partner, or now they're kind of dragged down because of you, or like there's something about it where you constantly feel wounded in relationships, and maybe it's you, maybe it's the other person, maybe it's who you tend to be attracted to, and who you're attracted to are usually not the best people, and so they end up hurting you because they're not the best people for you, you know, but you keep attracting yourself to them. So you have to just kind of trying to heal and kind of become more aware of who you're allowing into your life consistently, because, you know, we're comfortable with people that we tend to grow up with, what we allow, what they allow, and it can stagnate our growth, you know, or you can kind of move and gravitate towards other people that might feel kind of weird, or maybe you're so used to always people just doing everything for you, and they just do everything for you. But then when you come to someone who you know, like knows themselves or knows like a healthy relationship, and they're not going to do everything for you because they have their own self to look after also, and you're not used to someone who also is independent, and they're reflecting that to you. Like, what does independence as an Aries look like? You know, and if you're wounded in Aries, you might be wounded in being independent, and always relying on other people. And so someone who is independent and is not willing to kind of do everything for you, or be the mother that you never had, or be the father that you never had, if you have like some kind of abandonment wound, or maybe the culture, you're just used to it being like that, and now you've encountered someone who's not going to do that, and you know, now you have to look at yourself of like, oh, I always allow other people, or assume others should just do literally everything for me. And you know, like, you kind of pushed away people who, you know, were trying to teach you something, not intentionally, but it's like you have to also do your half in a relationship. Otherwise, they're going to feel drained, they're going to get frustrated, irritated, get mad at you, push you away, make you feel bad and not feel good enough because they're tired. You know, they can't do everything. So you have to look at both, if that applies to you, because I don't know who I'm talking to. Okay, Aries in the 8th house. I'm gonna do that for the sake of timestamps, not being confused. Aries in the 8th house. Aries, 8th house is Scorpio's house. It is our deep, dark secrets. It's sex. It's our in-laws. It's our joint resources that normally come after marriage, but in modern day, it doesn't always go in that order. So it might be asserting yourself with inheritances or joint finances, your debt, your taxes. You might have a hard time being able to do that on your own. Maybe you rely on a partner to do all of that for you, or you always make mistakes in that area and you feel wounded there. Usually Aries is the physical body, so you might feel wounded in the bedroom, or with actual sex, or your sexual organs, your reproductive organs, because Aries is the physical body. 8th house energy is those genital areas, so you may feel wounded in this area. So if you're in the reproductive, you know, hanky-panky stage in life, be very careful and use protection, because you might have more chances of catching something, okay, opposed to some of the other placements. You know, it's gonna gravitate towards you more. Or it doesn't have to be, I don't want to freak you out or anything like that. Or you might literally feel wounded with pleasure. You may feel wounded with other people's secrets, or like, you know, what they tell you, like their deep dark secrets really hurts you in some sort of way, or makes you feel bad, like I don't know how to explain that, but something about your identity, who you are, and then your in-laws might make fun of you, for instance, or they just don't like you, or you have a hard time asserting yourself with your in-laws, or how you use your joint finances with a partner or with your sexual organs, things like that. So combine Aries archetype energy, not feeling good enough, feeling awkward, can't quite get it, you just have a hard time comprehending this area, or using your physical body in a way that's pleasurable or attractive, or good enough in this department of sex, in-laws, joint inheritances, taxes, debt, things like that. Okay, Aries in the 9th house. Is at the top of the 9th house. So 9th house is more of our belief systems. It's like our PhD or higher education, what do you call it? Bachelor's degree. This is my Chiron and Gemini, like, words leave my brain. And it's like very simple stuff. And I have Chiron in the 9th house. So you can feel wounded in belief systems, politics, educational systems, but having Aries in here, Aries is more of your identity and who you are. Maybe you have wounded belief systems. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, maybe it's outdated and old, and you still have a hard time unlearning these things that you've overcome. If you are healing it, but you're still, Chiron, usually we still have to work through, just like me blanking out with vocabulary words, or so like feeling wounded with belief systems, or not knowing your own authentic religion or your sense of belief or faith. Maybe it's scattered. Maybe you have like 10 philosophies, but it's like, which one is the one that is right for you? You might feel wounded there, like not good enough for a certain belief system or religion, like you don't quite feel worthy or wanted in any of them, and maybe you want to have all of them just in case, or like you don't quite get it. You're trying to get it, but you have a hard time really knowing and feeling confident with a certain belief system, a certain philosophy, whether that is within yourself, like your own identity, the thoughts and beliefs that you kind of ruminate in your head. You can be like, oh, I'm not attractive enough, I don't look good enough, I don't like the sound of my voice, or like I don't, I need to have plastic surgery or whatever, like I have pores in my nose, and that is within your own belief system in your own mind. When someone else kind of comes to you, you're like, you look great, like, oh, you're so gorgeous or so handsome, or how did you do this or whatever. But in your own mind, you don't think like how other people are seeing you. That is the negative self-belief. So think of belief systems mostly. Maybe you have been physically wounded in the school system, or you have been physically wounded in government. It kind of, Capricorn is also kind of government, but I think of the 9th house can also blend into like these big structures of how you teach people. So it can be school systems, it could be belief system of the politics, right or left, or if maybe one day there's no such thing as right or left, it's just individual, or more like government. That's kind of like a higher structure, and then things trickle down of how things work, how things are organized, how rules are seen. You know, it kind of blurs in there with the Capricorn energy of hierarchy. It's more of like how you teach hierarchy, how do you teach belief systems, religion, things like that. And you feel wounded in this area, or maybe you feel wounded in politics. You feel wounded in your church or your synagogue or your temple, your mosque, whatever. You were wounded and maybe no one believes you, or you just feel not good enough for your religion or your faith or your community in that area. You're like, you don't feel like connected to it, something along those lines. It depends on your specific life choices and what's going on for you. Okay, Aries in the 10th house. So Aries in the Capricorn house, you feel wounded in your public image as an Aries, like who you are, how you're seen, how people view you. Maybe like you're a celebrity and you are wounded. You're always made fun of or poked at for not looking as attractive as the other celebrity, or your body type and your body structure kind of keeps getting poked fun at and put down, and compared to the other celebrity who has like a very similar body structure and physical type, they don't get made fun of, you know, if they don't have this Chiron in Aries in the 10th house, but you have Chiron in Aries in the 10th house and you have a very similar structure, but you're the one who gets poked at and made fun of or whatever, you know. So kind of think of it like that. 10th house is career, so you may feel wounded in career, or the people, your co-workers make fun of you, or maybe you're sexually harassed at work, or you know, like you come across people who make racist comments or derogatory comments that are inappropriate, and you always have to go to HR a lot, and you're like, you don't know why things like this happen to you. And it doesn't seem to happen to other people a lot, but it seems to be more of a thing for you. No matter where you go in your career, it kind of keeps coming up for you to heal it in some sort of way, or look at what you are doing. If you feel wounded within yourself, sometimes if you're not healed, you're overdoing it, or you're doing something to try and protect yourself, but it might be creating something else that leads to something that you also don't want. So just be aware of that if that is your case. But it's basically feeling wounded, or your identity, who you are, seems to kind of be wounded in the public image, how other people see you and who you are, or maybe depressing, like terrible things happen to you at work, and that makes you physically go through something. Maybe you lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks because you have major depression, you know, or you have to take off work. You have a hard time going to work because you just can't cope or whatever, and then you get made fun of, or your boss gets on you like, you need to show up to work. I don't care if you're going through something, you go through something all the time, you know, and like, we can't do this, we can't sustain our business, you know, we're gonna have to let you go. And now you get fired or let go so many times, and that looks bad on your resume, blah blah blah, you know, like things like this might happen to you more, you know. But maybe your superpower is you're very unique, and whatever you do for work, that you should actually be your own boss, you know, and you're very authentic, and you can make your own schedule, and make your own rules, and you don't have to worry about other people getting on you. So see if that applies for you. Don't quit your job if you rely on it for your main income. Work on a side hustle until it is so good for a decent period of time before you do any kind of major decisions like that, please. Okay. And then Aries in the 11th house. 11th house is our networks, our friendships, our large community. You may feel wounded in your friendships or your community are not good enough in comparison to the friends that you have. Like you're kind of unworthy, or you have nothing to provide or give back to your friends, or you're not good enough, or maybe you make mistakes all the time, in regards to your friends or your networks, your community, even technology. Maybe you just you don't quite understand and comprehend technology very well, and you don't know why, or you just have a really hard time getting it, and not feeling good enough to use technology, or having maybe friendships and networks have physically hurt you in some way, shape, or form, or made fun of you. It's kind of similar in a way to the 3rd house Gemini energy, because it's kind of community. Gemini is more the close community. Aquarius is more like humanity, community. Maybe you feel wounded, like you are, a smaller percentage of people in the world, and you are disabled, and a lot of friends and networks, they just don't understand you, or they're busy living their life, and they're not quite the friends that you thought that they would be. Maybe you were fine and you got into a major accident, and now your whole life is turned upside down, and the friends that you used to have, a lot of them kind of fallen away, and now you're wounded in friendships, or they take advantage of you because you're physically handicapped in some sort of way. And so, it's something to do with friendships, your networks, and then being wounded by these friendships or networks or within that circle, or asserting yourself with friendships and networks, and not allowing them to take advantage of you. Or maybe you overdo it and you are very aggressive, argumentative, not emotionally stable, and you kind of overprotect yourself in a negative way amongst your friends, and now you created more wounding in the dynamic relationship between your friends, and they are more vengeful and spiteful, and they'll do a surprise attack and deceive you in some sort of way later on, and now you're wounded because you wounded them. Maybe not in the same way, but kind of think about that for your own scenario, if that is the case. But otherwise, it's Aries. You have Chiron in Aries, your sense of self, who you are amongst your friends, or asserting yourself, being a pioneer, being brave, courageous amongst your friends, or in comparison to your friends, because it depends. Maybe all of your friends are military soldiers, and they're very brave, and they go off into battle, and you also are a military sergeant, or whatever you call them, soldier, and you just don't feel brave enough, or you don't feel like you're truly a part of the group, like you feel like an outcast, or you don't feel like you belong in this group of friends who are all very brave and courageous, and you're like, I pretend to be brave and courageous, but I'm actually really scared and I'd rather hide behind a rock, you know, and you kind of have this kind of weird feeling awkward thing, but you're really good at it. So maybe you are actually the most brave and courageous, and you're a natural leader and very authoritative, but maybe you don't see yourself in that way. So that's a negative belief, but that's just an example because it can play out in so many different ways. You have to look at your own scenario. But think Aries, Chiron and Aries in the 11th house of friendships, humanitarian things, collective, humanitarian things, serving the people, a little bit of everything for the people. So, you know, feeling wounded in that area. Okay. Woo. And then last one, Aries in the 12th house. 12th house is our Pisces house. It is where we go to be isolated, or it's our subconscious thoughts, things that we are not aware of. And so, and it's also our dreams, creativity, intuition. So you might feel like your intuition is just not quite right, where you kind of get it wrong a lot, like your intuition, or you feel very wounded when you're alone, when you're isolated, like you have a hard time being alone. You just feel wounded. You need to be amongst other people all the time, or you have a hard time just sitting with yourself and being isolated by yourself. You may feel like your sense of identity and who you are is very kind of foreign, because 12th house is like foreign places. It's off in dreamland, which is very far, far away because you're unconscious. And when you're in a dream, sometimes it's like on a different planet, or it's like, it's not here. I don't know what it was. It's not here. So you feel wounded in places that are foreign or far away, or feel wounded in your dreams, or feeling wounded in creativity, or not good enough, feel wounded being brave alone, or feeling wounded when like doing things intuitively on your own. You need like reassurance from other people, or you know, things like that. I'm trying to think of, because Aries is physical body, who you are, your personality, and it's kind of, now it's in the subconscious house. If it's in the actual 12th house, it's kind of like the lights are turned off, so you might not even know, you know, like why. You won't even be conscious of what's going on or why you feel wounded. You'll have no idea, because it's in this 12th house of like isolation, being alone. It's just unconscious, you know, like when you know, like an event happened in the past, but you're not going to remember every single event in your past unless it's more prominent. That's why you remember it. You know, so it's like you don't know why you feel wounded or how it started. Like maybe you need to go to hypnotherapy, or the EMDR, you know, to resolve trauma, because it's so suppressed in your subconscious memory to protect yourself that you can't even figure out the root cause of what in the world is going on in your life, you know, and it's affecting your life in such a negative way that you went to therapy and you can't express what is going on because it is so suppressed. You put it in the back of the filing cabinet and lock the key and threw the key in the ocean. That is how far closed off it is. So it could be something like that, you know, like you have a hard time creating that creative thought and belief, you know, in your mind of how, you know, how to resolve a problem, or why things led the way they have led, you know, where did it start, so you can kind of forgive yourself or forgive or have some kind of reasoning why things are the way that they are, you know. So something to do with that. Yeah. So that concludes the Aries and Chiron video. So please give me a like if you found this informative. Share it with a friend, family member, or whoever. If you know they have Chiron in Aries or Chiron in the first house, or reflect on your own life and see and connect the dots. You know, that's why astrology is not an exact science, you know, and it can't be proven, which is a good thing. Otherwise, insurance companies would claim it and possibly ruin it and take advantage of it. Even though, you know, it is beneficial for people to have insurance, but sometimes they take advantage and it messes things up. But that's just my own personal opinion, because I have Chiron in the 9th house, you know, and I can see the boo-boos that can happen in there. That's too much information. So check out my playlist down below for other videos that I have made. If it helps you out, you know, give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe, because that just helps my channel, as I am providing this kind of information for free, and hopefully it helps you in some sort of way. Okay, bye. So hard.